I rise to participate in the discussion on public importance, urgent public importance relating to the Uniform Civil Code. Well, this is a very important topic. I wish if the speaker can extend the time. 5 minutes for me will be a very short time, which I would request you to kindly extend a little bit. This house is the 14th house, Honorable Speaker said. And if you count by years, from 64 to 2023, it is already 59 years. It's a very matured house. People expect us to debate thick and thin and find out the best possible option for our people. And therefore, on issues of this nature, very sensitive in nature, we need a very thorough analysis on the subject matter and also to put across our ideas. We have had experience with the 2001 Municipal Act. I was not there in the House at that point of time. Many of our senior members were a witness. They must have participated very thoroughly. But I felt that it was not thoroughly debated, and for which this House, 14th House, were compelled to again repeal the Act. I think that is the consequences we had for not debating properly in passing the Act. To begin with, Honorable Speaker said, Gaddis Abraham Lincoln on the 19th of November 1863, during his Gettysburg Address. I'll just quote one sentence. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. I would like to paraphrase in our context. Nagas will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget, Speaker said, what we decide today. On this note, I would like to start how this UCC is going to affect the present as well as the coming generation. What does UCC aims for? Uniform Civil Code. It is going to govern personal matters including marriage, divorce, adoption, inheritance, and succession. For us Nagas, we normally practice Naga way of style of getting married. Also, 90% of us go with the Christian style of marriage. Now, about inheritance, we have a system already embedded in our way of life, where how the inheritance of both movable and immovable properties are being determined by way of customs and tradition varies from tribe to tribe, and even within the tribe, village to village. This is how the Naga way of life functions. Before I go into the details of how, before I start my argument, I would like to appreciate the present government headed by our Honorable CM, Mr. Nienu, and as my leader has pointed out, the cabinet colleagues. They have submitted a very extensive memorandum to the chairman, 22nd Law Commission of India, signed by all of them. Enrio, CM, DR Ziling, Deputy CM, Vaipatan, Deputy Chief Minister, Kaito, Minister Chagap Simo, Minister Gay Jekin, Minister Baiwan Punyak, Minister Mitsuko General, Minister CL John, Minister Inna Minister, Salutun Nokense Minister, Bashang Mambas Minister. I think wherever it is due, we also must appreciate our BJP colleagues. They have also abandoned the signature here. Of course, the debate will be more towards targeting the BJP's policies in the center, but as far as the ministers and our elected members at homes are concerned, they are also a Naga first, and for which in this memorandum with their signature it has been proven, and I must appreciate their stand so far taken. I hope it will be consistent, and with the collective approach we will succeed. Speaker sir, in the third para of the Naga Club Memorandum to Simon Commission, our language is quite different from those of the plains, and we have no social affinities with the Hindus or Muslims. Those days they call it Muslims. We are looked down upon by one for our beef, because we eat beef, and the other for our pork. That is what the Naga Club, in a simple literal language, they have passed on this to the Simon Commission. I think our histories are very clear. And how I was studying how the leadership of the Naga Club could foresee that these things will happen in the near future, that these things are happening today. Now, after that, when the Crown Colony was proposed in 1941, that time the DC Naga Hills District was Sir Robert Reid, 1941. He said, during the proposal, during the Crown Colony proposal, this was his comment: we have no right to allow this great body of non-Indians animists, because many of our Nagas practiced animism before the advent of the Christianity, and Christians to be drawn into the struggle between the Hindus and Muslims, which is now and will be in the future with ever increasing intensity. These are not my words, quotation I'm quoting from Robert Reid, former DC Naga Hills District. He was also apprehending that we will be, our society, our Naga family will be drawn into this struggle, the Hindus as well as the Muslims. What is happening on this UCC is exactly that. Now, Speaker Sir, during the Constituent Assembly debate, you are aware, you are also from a law background, B.R. Ambedkar, chairman of the Constitution Drafting Committee, what he commended, there was a lot of debate within the Constituent Assembly whether the UCC should be part of the Constitution or not. It was, of course, at last inserted in the Article 44 of the Constitution, which is in the form of directive principles of state policy, which is not enforceable, unlike in the code of law, unlike the fundamental rights. Article 44, what does it say? Uniform civil code for the citizens. The state shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Now, Speaker Sir, after a long debate, they could not insert it into a fundamental rights. These directive principles are not enforceable in the court of law. And therefore, it was just an envisaged, a directive given to the state, as if it is possible for the state to frame a uniform civil code. It is not a mandatory in nature. What Ambedkar said, it is perfectly possible that the future parliament may make a provision by way of making a beginning that the court shall apply only to those who make a declaration that they are prepared to be bound by it, so that in the initial stage, the application of the code may be purely voluntary. Even B.R. Ambedkar, after a long debate, they would not come to a consensus. They said it will be a purely voluntary. Majority of the members of the Constituent Assembly were against. UCC claiming that religion laws of different communities should not be tampered with without their consent. This was the Constituent Assembly debate during the formative stage of the Indian Constitution. Now, on the 1st of August, 1960, during the debate in the House for the creation of Nagaland state, what the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru commented. Speaker Sir, he said, we have not the slightest desire to interfere in the tribal customs and usages of the Nagas or in their distinctive way of life. This is what the first Prime Minister of India, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, commented. Now, on the 1st of December 1963, when the President Dr. Radhakrishnan came to inaugurate the state, it was a long speech, two-page speeches, but I'll just quote one sentence. Radhakrishnan said, Indian society has always been a multilingual, multiracial, and multi-religious one, having a variety of racial and ethnic groups. These are the great minds where the leadership of the Indian society have been commenting on how the unity and diversity about India. Now, on the 15th of November 1990, that time it was the National Front government supported by the BJP. But since BJP was not in a big number, Advani and Vajpayee were at the forefront at that point of time. So, LK Advani went out for a Rath Yatra to, he was touring the whole of India to reach the Ayodhya, Babri Masjid issue, which you all are aware. At that time, VP Singh was the Prime Minister. And VP Singh was requesting L.K. Advani not to go to Ayodhya so that the problem does not come up. But he went on then, he went to Bihar side, and Lalu Prasad was the Chief Minister at that point of time. They somehow arrested him and kept him in a house arrest. There's a humor, as you all know. Lalu is a very humorous man. He rang up Lalu Prasad Advani ji. That's it. I have kept you in a good rest house. Doctors are available. All facilities are available. So take rest. Anything, please let me know. But they have very cleverly, shrewdly arrested him not to reach Ayodhya. Now what happened? So they started threatening VP Singh's government that your government will have to be pulled down because you are not allowing L.K. Advani to reach Ayodhya. So when after that, because of that, the government has to go. So VP Singh was asked, when journalists asked him, what did you mean when you said you could prove your majority? What I meant was, I will face Parliament. The issue was that of the country unity. Also, its secular credentials. The democratic institution have to be maintained. Since we had to choose between saving the government and saving all these principles, means secular credentials as well as democratic institutions. We made a clear choice, and the government may go. So we sacrificed a whole government for these issues. So the government has to collapse because the BJP withdrawn their support to VP Singh government. So this is a very long thrown issue. And after that, at that point of time, Led Vamso was the Chief Minister here in Nagaland, and he was invited by VP Singh to also come and say something. What did he say? Let Vamso say. When he was invited by Prime Minister VP Singh during the Ayodhya Babri Masjid crisis, I venture, therefore, to humbly but urgently appeal to you to please make an inspired gesture that will touch and satisfy the hearts of the Hindus without harming the dignity and message of the Islams. This was the statement made by Led Vamso when that issue came up. Now, in 1996, Atal Bihari Vajpayee came back to power. Unfortunately, it lasted only for 13 days. Now, all these issues related to this. After his government collapsed, the journalists asked him what happened. So his argument was that it was his party's stand over a few controversial issues like UCC was the reason why secular parties were not willing to extend their support to his government. Since the BJP did not have a majority, he further said he was willing to set aside these issues, but urged for a national debate on this UCC. What Vajpayee, a very great man, a statesman, predicted today we are debating today. He was suggesting for a national debate on the Uniform Civil Code. Fortunately, we are debating today on this issue. And therefore, these are the sequence of how this issue has also affected the country, and also now it is happening to our kitchen. Coming back to the recent one, now, a very interesting story I would like to narrate. The Chandrayaan-3. Recently, India going to moon, came down, and India has been a very popular country. Now, one of the architects of that ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, is the former President, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. In one of his memoirs, I brought this book, Ignited Minds, written by APJ Abdul Kalam. In 1962, just a short para speaker, sir, please bear with me. Dr. Sarabhai and Dr. Khaba were looking for a site to establish the space research station in the equatorial region. Tumba in Kerala was found most suitable as it was near the equatorial region and was ideally suited for ionospheric research. The locality, however, was inhabited by thousands of fishermen living in the villages there. It also had a beautiful church called St. Mary Magdalene Church. and the bishop's house. As such, the acquisition of the land did not move any further. Dr. Sarabhai met the bishop, His Excellency Reverend Dr. Peter Bernard Pereira, on a Saturday and requested transfer of the property. The bishop smiled and asked him to meet him the next day. In the Sunday morning service, the bishop told the congregation, "My children, I have a famous scientist with me who wants our church and the place I live for the work of space, science, and research. Science seeks truth that enriches human life. The higher level of religion is spirituality. The higher level of religion is spirituality. That is what the father said. The spiritual preachers seek the help of the Almighty to bring peace to human minds. In short, what Vikram is doing and what I am doing are the same. Both science and spirituality seek the Almighty's blessing for human prosperity in mind and body. Children, can we give them God's abode for a scientific mission?" There was silence for a while, followed by a hearty amen from the congregation, which met the whole church reverberated. Speaker, sir, what I'm trying to say here is how the Christian communities have also contributed in building this nation, including creating a space for research and sending India to moon mission. This is the great contribution of the Christian communities, where Nagas are majority Christians. What I'm trying to say is, now, in an age of mindless religious animosity, it's about religious animosity between the two big religions, Hindus and Muslims. The thing to admire here, what I've read in this story, Speaker sir, is Dr. Vikram Sarabhai is a Hindu. Dr. Homi Papi is a Parsi. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, we all know, is a Muslim. Made the request to Christian who willingly gave up their church for national cause. This is how we have been contributing in nation building, and towards this end, in our context, as far as the religion practice, inheritance of properties are concerned, as I say, it is unique, distinct from the rest of the nation, and therefore we cannot be put at par with all these laws that are envisaged by the central government. As I said, I will not re-quote Article 44 again. If you come back to the 7th schedule, concurrent list in 3.5 of the Indian Constitution, it neither talks about, it is not in the state list nor in the union list. It is in a concurrent list. Concurrent list means if these framers, creators of the Indian Constitution thought that this law has to be a mandatory, they would have put it in the union list, and Parliament would have a sweeping power to enact whatever law they like. But the very fact that it was inserted in the concurrent list shows that the framers of the Constitution has second, third thought on this law. UCC, how it will impact us? It will be directly in conflict with the right of the freedom of religion, as enshrined, as mentioned by earlier speakers in the Article 25 and also 29 of the Indian Constitution. This will be directly in conflict with our cultural practice, our inheritance practice, as well as our religion practice. And therefore, I strongly urge that this House take a proper stand on this, and we unanimously adopt a resolution ensuring that this act doesn't come to our land now and in future. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I also regret to inform Secretary in charge may expunge the expression religious animosity. We cannot use that term here in the floor of the House. Next, I now give time to Honourable Member Shri K. Tokuga Sukhato.
First of all, I have to thank you and the Leader of the House for admitting our request on discussion on urgent public importance under Rule 50, especially on Uniform Civil Code and Forest Conservation Act 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, since there's a lot of speakers, I'll try to be very brief, as requested. As a matter of fact, I will be failing on my part if I don't thank the leader of the House and his party, the NDPP, not forgetting Konrad Sama and the NPP party, for coming out, all out against the Uniform Civil Code. And also thereby the Nagaland Assembly adopting a resolution against this. Mr. Speaker, sir, we Nagas are simple-minded and we have a very clean thought. We think that everybody is equal. But one thing I want to remind, or rather caution this House, of course subjected to correction, is we think that Article 371A is always there to protect us. As a matter of fact, I agree, Article 371A is a constitutional guarantee to the people of Nagaland. But has this article over the years, as guaranteed, safeguarded us in all aspects? I don't think so, and I have some proof and evidence. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 371A is like one of the best weapons under the Constitution, which guarantees to safeguard our rights, our heritage, our laws, our practices. But for me, this Article 371A has been in cold storage for too long. We have never made use of it. It's like an old rusted gun. Once we tried to polish it, we tried to make use of it, but it misfired. For example, in 2010, under our same leader, he was the chief minister, I was also the minister then, we adopted a resolution on petroleum and natural gas. And that resolution empowers us. We said that we are empowered under Article 371A. So we will pass our own resolution as far as exploration of oil and natural gas is concerned. And as soon as we pass that resolution, an unstarred question in the Rajya Sabha was put by our late former MP, Imchen. And the answer came as a surprise shock to the entire Nagas. So I'll read a small para here. As soon as the matter came up to the notice of Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, it was taken up with the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Ministry of Home Affairs has advised that Article 371A does not confer legislative powers to the Legislative Assembly of Nagaland for regulation and development of mineral oil. It stated very clearly. The power to make laws in respect of subject covered under List 1 rests with the Parliament. They say that all this rests with the Parliament. And so they have given us this gun, but it is, when we tried to make use of it, it misfired. Then an order came from the Home Ministry asking, the matter has accordingly been taken up with the Chief Minister Nagaland, requesting him to withdraw the notification and resend the Nagaland Petroleum and Natural Gas Resolution 2012 as well as related resolutions. Therefore here, why I'm cautioning this House is we should be very careful in our thoughts and our dealings. We should not always think that Article 71A is there to protect us. It will protect us if only we make use of it and we pass resolutions in the House, in the Assembly. Coming to UCC, human memory is very short, Mr. Speaker. I want to take you back in 2019 Lok Sabha elections, where the NDA government, including the BJP RSS, with commitment, they had gone to the elections with some few promises, and they call that mega promises. Their mega promise one is the Ram temple in Ayodhya. Our Hindu brothers, they believe that their god Ram was born in Ayodhya, and so they had to build a temple. So their mega promise one is to build a Ram temple in Ayodhya, and today it's on the verge of completion. And in January, I'm very sure they're going to inaugurate this, which will become a booster for their party's election campaign. Mr. Speaker, sir, their mega promise too. Let us recall Jammu and Kashmir. Their mega promise too is the abrogation of Article 370. Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir was also done away with. The two mega promises, 1, 2, is fulfilled. Now today, what state is Jammu and Kashmir in? Jammu and Kashmir state was divided into two union territories. One is Ladakh, one is J&K. And since 2019, in J&K there has been presidential rule, and till now it is continuing against the wishes of the people. They are seeking for elections, pleading for elections, but the center is given a blind ear and they are not listening to them. Moreover, all the rules and regulation is going against them, especially the Ladakh road. There is no road. The road is in such a horrible condition. The road is like rivers. But they levy heavy tax on the people. Network, so on and so forth, is limited to few areas and places only. They have even brought up prepaid smart electric meters. Where even though you have not used the electricity, you have to advance pay the government. Then property tax on every household owners is levied very highly. These are the conditions that is happening. I have the papers with me. I'll be supplying it to the Chief Minister and your good office. Their mega promise 3 is UCC, Mr. Speaker, sir. Uniform Civil Code, Hindutva-based nationalistic politics of Jan Shang, which is under process. Mr. Speaker, sir, if I'm to state UCC in my own words, very simply, not trying to target any party or individual, let me define it this way. Uniform Civil Code is a subject matter propounded by BJP RS, which is deeply rooted in Hindutva. It is the foundation of totalitarian rule of a dictator. We must remember uniform law and dictatorships are two sides of the coin. We have seen it in the past that only dictators have enforced uniform law successfully. UCC will remove pluralism and diversity, and thereby it will fulfill the dream of one nation, one religion, one culture. That means the country is heading for a dictatorship rule if UCC is enforced in the entire country. Either that will be the end of minorities or disintegration of India, where our rights and equalities will be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a proof, as an evidence, let me cite some few examples where uniform law was successful. For example, General Franco of Spain, Saddam Hussein of Iraq, Mussolini of Great Britain, Hitler of Germany, Stalin of Russia, and in the present context, it's Kim Jong-un of North Korea. It's a dictatorship rule. And so uniform law is compulsory, it is applied and it's successful. So therefore, this uniform law, UCC, is not applicable in our land. That is what I want to say. Mr. Speaker, to me, subjected to correction, there are two important issues surrounding UCC in my opinion. Rights and equalities of citizens on one hand, and on the other hand, national integration. These are important, no doubt, but any attempt to force it on diverse communities across the country will be futile and counterproductive. It is a direct threat to the fabrics of the communitarian tribal ethos and values. To impose it on us is to dismiss our culture as primitive, uncivilized, and inhuman, and it questions our ability to find a solution from within to address human problems, including rights and equality, and to contribute to the nation building at large. Moreover, to impose UCC is to go against the basic norms and preconditions that have gone into the making of Indian Constitution. Like diversity, unity, federalism, secularism, etc. It ignores the rich and complex historical background of the nation against which the Constitution was built. It is betraying the hope and the trust of the minorities, especially the tribal communities, for whom constitutional provisions like Article 371A or 6th Schedule have been provided to protect and promote our customs, values, and practices. Things which have given us a sense of identity, worth, belongingness, and purpose. One must not dishonor the existing constitutional guarantees through which modern India was built. The spirit of Indian nationalism or national integration cannot be achieved by questioning and insulting the wisdom and heritage of the minorities. In reality, it is the issue and questions of personal matter that constitutes the heart and soul of modern democracy and liberty, for instance, religious freedom. India today is admired as a secular country because of its rich culture, heritage, and diversity. Why do we have to do it away all of a sudden? Instead of trying to override matters that comes under personal law, lawmakers must, on the contrary, provide platforms for diverse communities to showcase their culture, heritage, and wisdom so that genuine interaction and cross-cultural learning become possible. Such an initiative will forge greater understanding among the diverse communities across the nation. It will also inculcate a sense of respect, peace, and unity, which are fundamental in building India as a strong state. It must be noted and put on record, Mr. Speaker, that the idea of LADF, that is our MLA's local area development, and the LADS of MP fund in the country has its origin in tribal wisdom of the Nagas. Even the concept of communitization of basic institutions like health and education that has merited national and international recognition comes from the communitarian ethos of the tribes Nagas, the care for one and all, and not to leave anyone out of the pursuit for good. Till an appropriate time, Mr. Speaker, sir, I endorse the wisdom and suggestion of 21st Law Commission, who observes that even the Law Commission has given its recommendation, Mr. Speaker, sir. We must at least take the Law Commission's advice. The Law Commission has stated, in the absence of any consensus on the Uniform Civil Code, the Commission felt that the best way forward may be to preserve the diversity of personal law, but at the same time ensure that personal law do not contradict fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution of India. In order to achieve this, it is desirable that all personal law relating to matters of family must be first be codified to the greatest extent possible, and the inequalities that have crept into codified law should be remedied by amendments. India must trust the diverse communities to find wisdom to address issues of human rights for which within insight, instead of coercing them from above. It is high time we do away with elements of hegemony and imperialism that only sow seeds of division and distrust. As a legislator and as a representative of the tribal community from Nagaland, Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand here vehemently opposing any threat, be it in modern Western individualistic or Indian majoritarian values and ethos, which are not only incompatible but also pose a threat to our tribal communitarian ethos and values. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, I really want to thank the Honorable Chief Minister and his entire cabinet for taking up this very important issue and taking the whole team to Delhi and getting verbal assurances from the government of India that it will not affect the tribals. But I once again want to state, let us not take verbal assurances for granted. If at all it has to be guaranteed, it should come in black and white protecting us. Therefore, I once again move this August House to pass a resolution rejecting the bill, UCC bill in total in this second session of the 14th House. Thank you.
Thank you for the time. Speaker sir, I would like to apprise the August House about the Uniform Civil Code. The Uniform Civil Code will infringe upon the religious and cultural autonomy, diluting the diversity of Indian society. Speaker sir, Nagas, being a tribal state, have a distinct law. Every tribe has its own law. Therefore, since the British rule, we have given right to ancestral law, having learned about such thing to Constitution of India has also provided us with Article 371A. But if the Uniform Civil Code is amendment, the Article 371A will be automatically be removed in our customary right, and traditional law will be nullified. Therefore, Honorable Sir, as the guardian of our state, the Assembly may kindly pass the resolution to protect the Uniform Civil Code, to oppose Uniform Civil Code. Thank you, sir.
I'll share some of my views in regard to Uniform Civil Code. The UCC, I think in other words, one nation, one law, which is in the Indian Constitution. More than 7 decades back, it was known that it's a threat to social, religion, and customary laws. Until today, it remains a threat, and therefore, this should not bind us from the liberty of being a tribesman as Nagas. This Uniform Civil Code is an indulgence in the personal law, such as personal scriptures, marriage, divorce, guardian, and succession, which are right to religion and social practices of the Nagas, and customary laws and procedures are infringed. Therefore, the meaning of special status of 371A, which was provisioned in the year 1962, contradicts the fundamental rights of the Nagas. The implementation of the UCC also violates the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution, including the Article 25, freedom to profess and practice one's religion, and Article 29, right to have a distinct culture. It also contradicts the provisions that was granted to the states of Nagaland and Mizoram. I also would like to refer to the 2018 report given by the Law Commission of India, which stated that the Uniform Civil Code is neither necessary nor desirable at this stage in our country. My appreciation goes to the various political parties, the Cabinet, for writing a letter to the 22nd Law Commission requesting the Commission to exempt Nagaland from the purview of implementing the UCC. My appreciation also goes to the CSOs, HOHOs, and various concerned citizens of our state for sharing their views and opinions that they firmly oppose the Uniform Civil Code. Therefore, the voice of our people should be heard. My suggestion is we need a firm resolution to oppose the Uniform Civil Code. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the time. I would also like to share my views and my opinion on the matters of urgent public importance under Rule 50, that is Uniform Civil Code. Sir, like other colleagues have already expressed and shared, I also have the opinion that the enactment of this Uniform Civil Code would have negative implications on our diverse cultural practices, personal laws, and religious practices. Especially, it may infringe upon the Article 371A, which guarantees, which safeguards the interests of the people of Nagaland. Also, not only that which infringes upon the Article 371A, but it also violates the personal laws and traditions which is enshrined under the Constitution of India, Article 25 of the Constitution of India, which guarantees the citizens of India right to freedom of religion, which our former speakers have already stated. I also have the opinion that the enactment would have adverse consequences on the fundamental rights of the Constitution of India, that is, right to cultural and educational right of minorities, which is enshrined in the Article 29 and 30 respectively, and the right to equality, Article 14 of the Constitution of India, may also be compromised by the imposition of Uniform Civil Code. Therefore, I have the opinion that this enactment should not be applied on the state of Nagaland. I also would like to humbly suggest that as we are equipped with a weapon, that is Article 371A, which gives us a choice to have a decision whether to let it apply upon us or reject it, using effectively the Constitution which has guaranteed, which has safeguarded the interests of the Nagas, that is Article 371A. I would humbly suggest to the House that a resolution may be passed to request to the center, to the Union Government of India to exempt this UCCP, to exempt from applying this UCC for the state of Nagaland. Thank you.
Nagaland TV, Sob Manulaga Awas. Watch us live on Geo TV and on your television sets as well. For Dimapur viewers, we are on channel number 994 in Global Chapter, and Kohima and Mokokchung viewers, switch to channel number 138 on Hornbill Digital. For all news and updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.